If you know anything about cholesterol, it's probably that there's a bad kind and a good kind. The bad stuff clogs up your arteries and can lead to heart attack, while the good stuff helps clear out that problem. But it's a little more complicated than that. There's a third kind of cholesterol that gets a lot less press, and it's so off the radar that many doctors don't even test for it. And 20% of people have high levels of this mysterious third cholesterol, leading to an untold number of deaths. So let's talk about cholesterol. The good, the bad, and the ugly. First, I want to say a few words in defense of our villainized friend. Justice for cholesterol. It isn't all bad for you. Sometimes it just gets a bad rap. Your body makes it because it does some pretty important stuff, like helping make your cell membranes and hormones, so we can't just get rid of it entirely. But it is complicated because there's more than one kind of cholesterol. In fact, there's more than just good and bad cholesterol. And while they got those nicknames for legitimate reasons, they're also not so black and white. So let's just start at the beginning. Cholesterol is a molecule that travels through your blood attached to lipoproteins. These protein and fat combo molecules carry fat to the parts of the body that need it. Because yes, fat is also needed in moderation. So your protein and cholesterol duos travel all over the body, but they take a few different forms. Like low-density lipoprotein, or LDL cholesterol, has more cholesterol per protein, and high-density lipoprotein, or HDL cholesterol, has less cholesterol per protein. And these two forms of cholesterol can be thought of as opposing forces. It comes down to the effects they have on your body. See, when you have too much LDL cholesterol floating around, it tends to stick to the walls of your blood vessels instead of flowing through like it's supposed to. This buildup is called plaque. It's not the stuff that builds up on your teeth, but it accumulates in a similar way until there's a big problem. As more and more plaque builds up on the sides of your arteries, the passageway for blood gets smaller and smaller. Eventually, a plaque can block the flow through your blood vessels, and a clot like that can end up giving you a stroke or heart attack. So LDL's nickname, bad cholesterol, is probably starting to make some sense right now. But HDL cholesterol works in a totally different way. While too many LDLs build up in a plaquey plug, keeping your blood from flowing around your body, HDLs work to clear up that problem. HDLs can remove LDLs from your bloodstream and bring them to the liver where they're broken down. And that's why HDL is known as good cholesterol. It's had that street cred since 1977, when a famous study found that more HDL was associated with less heart disease. And that's still true. Kind of. The concept of good cholesterol is a bit more nuanced than bad cholesterol. A 2017 study in Copenhagen found that you really want a certain amount of HDL, around 60 milligrams per deciliter, to benefit from it. If you have too much more than that, your risk for heart disease goes back up. And a recent study in the US found that if you have less than that, it's only associated with a greater risk of heart disease for some people. So overall, we can say that LDL is bad cholesterol and HDL is good cholesterol, with some important caveats. But when your doctor reads out your numbers with that disapproving look, they're often not even considering the other kind of cholesterol, which is bad. And let's just say we haven't found many caveats for that. I'm talking about a type of LDL called Lipoprotein A, or LPA for short. We don't even know exactly what LPAs are supposed to do in our bodies, even though they separately evolved twice over 40 million years. So they probably do something. What we do know is that too much LPA can carry an even higher risk for heart issues than regular LDL, which is weird because LPAs carry less cholesterol on average than other LDLs. It turns out that these LPAs can be dangerous all on their own without the extra cholesterol because of their size and shape. See, they can be pretty small, so they pass into the inner lining of your blood vessels. When too much builds up, you can get some nasty blood clots. LPAs can pull off this unfortunate trick because they look a lot like a molecule that helps break down clots in your blood vessels. But they don't do the whole breaking down clots thing. So when there are lots of LPAs around, it gets in the way of your body's clot removal systems. But the most awful thing about them is the extra protein they have called apolipoprotein A, or ApoA. And that ApoA protein sticks to types of molecules that cause big-time inflammation. So when LPAs get into the walls of your blood vessels, plaque starts to build up in the inner lining, and LPAs destabilize the plaque. At that point, it's more likely to come off the artery wall and completely cut off blood flow. And that's when heart attacks and strokes happen. All of this kind of makes you wonder why you've never heard about LPAs and why your doctor doesn't check for them. I mean, come on, we've known about LPA since the 60s, but it's still not on the standard test for cholesterol? Well, even though it's seriously risky to have a lot of LPA floating around your body, and about 20% of the world does, it just doesn't have the same A-list publicity as HDL and LDL. And maybe that's because we don't exactly have a solution for the LPA problem right now. And don't get me wrong, we're not completely stumped. We're in phase 3 clinical trials for RNA interference drugs that seem to significantly reduce LPAs in your body. This type of treatment reversibly turns off the gene that tells your body to make ApoA. Basically, it adds in new genetic code that facilitates the breakdown of the protein's code, so you make fewer particles of the ugly cholesterol. And if these trials keep going well, we might have an effective treatment soon. As for your other cholesterol problems, there are concrete steps you can take to keep yourself healthy. As with most health-related topics, what you do to manage your levels may be different from someone else, because cholesterol can work differently depending on your genetics, your general health, and many other factors. But pretty much every study agrees that high LDL is bad, so ideally you want to try to keep that down however you can. Eating food with high amounts of saturated or trans fat can dangerously raise your LDL cholesterol. They seem to disrupt the process of breaking down cholesterol and fat in your body, and they also activate the pathway that makes cholesterol. So avoiding fatty meals and fast food can help get your LDL levels down. Also, exercising can increase your HDL cholesterol, but not to dangerously high levels. So you get a lower risk for cardiovascular disease when you move your body in healthy ways. Some people also find that medications called statins help manage cholesterol levels. Statins slow your liver's role in making cholesterol in the first place by limiting an important enzyme in the process. So if cholesterol seems a little complicated, that's because it is. Experts are still learning about how different kinds of it contribute to your health, especially now that we realize it doesn't work the same way for everybody. But at least now you know there's more than just good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, even if the third kind is pretty bad too.